My name is Ryan. For almost 2 years now, I've been working the late shift at a small fast food restaurant in my town. It's not a dream job. It's not glamorous, but it pays my rent and keeps the lights on. And honestly, the hours work for me. I've always been a night person. I've never liked waking up early. So working the drive-thru from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. never really bothered me the way it does most people. This all started about a month ago. That night, I was working the drive-thru alone. After midnight, we're usually short-staffed. Sometimes I'm the only employee on duty. Around 1:20 a.m., a black sedan pulled up to the speaker. A man's voice came through. It sounded completely normal. Nothing strange about it. He said, "I'll take a large chicken burger combo, extra cheese, and a cold coffee." A standard order. I confirmed it and told him to pull up to the first window. When he reached the payment window, he barely rolled his window down, just enough to slide his card through. His windows were heavily tinted. I couldn't see his face at all. He didn't say a word. The payment went through. I handed him his receipt. And then he drove forward, without stopping at the second window, without taking his food. I stood there holding his bag, confused. I figured he'd made a mistake and would come back. So I waited. 5 minutes passed, then 10. He never returned. Eventually, I set the bag aside. Later that night, I ended up eating it myself. I didn't think much of it. People do weird things sometimes. About a week later, it happened again. Same car, same order, same behavior. He paid, then drove off without his food. That's when I started to feel a little uneasy. I remember thinking, didn't this happen last week too? But I brushed it off. I told myself it was probably just a coincidence. The third time it happened, I knew it wasn't. It was the same guy, same time, same order, same routine. Always paying, always leaving, never taking his meal. I had no idea why he was doing it, but honestly, I wasn't complaining. Free food is free food. So I kept quiet. Over the next few weeks, it became a pattern. He'd show up every 4 or 5 days, usually between 12:30 and 2 a.m., and every time I'd think, maybe tonight's another free dinner. Then, one night around 1:45 a.m., I heard his voice again. I recognized it instantly. He said, "Same order." I smiled to myself. But then, he added something else, something that made my stomach drop. He said quietly, "Hope you've been enjoying the food, Mr. Collins." I froze. My last name is Collins. I don't wear a name tag with my last name on it. It's not posted anywhere customers can see. There was no reason for him to know it. None at all. For a few seconds I couldn't speak. Then I asked, "Who is this? How do you know my name?" "What's going on?" I repeated myself over and over. He never answered. This time he didn't even pull up to pay. I heard his engine rev, and then he was gone. The rest of my shift, I couldn't focus. My hands were shaking. My mind kept replaying his words. How did he know my name? When I finally got home around 5 a.m., I noticed something on my doorstep. A piece of paper, a handwritten note. I picked it up. It said, "You know what you did. You have 72 hours." My heart started pounding. My hands were trembling. I felt sick to my stomach. I had no idea what he was talking about. I couldn't think of anything I'd ever done that would explain it. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat on my couch with the lights on, staring at the wall, waiting, dreading what. After the note showed up on my doorstep, my life stopped feeling normal. Every sound outside my apartment made me jump. Every car that slowed down near my building made my heart race. But nothing happened. No more notes. No more messages. No strange customers. For a few days, everything was quiet. Almost too quiet. I tried to convince myself it was over, that it had just been some sick prank. Still, I couldn't relax. Money was tight. So on weekends, I started driving for rideshare apps, mostly Friday and Saturday nights. That's when the surge pricing hits. and when drunk college kids need rides home. I'd usually drive from about 9 p.m. until 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. One Saturday night, around 1:30 a.m., I was ready to log off. I was tired. My eyes burned. I just wanted to go home. Then one last request came in. Pick up, downtown. Drop off, way outside the city. Past the suburbs, almost in the middle of nowhere. I almost declined it. The distance wasn't worth it. But the pay was unusually high, so I accepted. The passenger was a young woman in her early 20s. She seemed normal, a little tipsy, maybe, but polite. She talked about her friends and her classes. Nothing strange. The drive took about 40 minutes. When I dropped her off, it was after 2 a.m. Her house was isolated. No nearby streetlights. No other cars. Just darkness and trees. I waited until she went inside, then turned my car around. I started heading back toward the city. About 10 minutes into the drive, I saw something ahead. A car stopped in the middle of the road, hazard lights flashing. 2 people were standing in front of it, waving their arms, trying to get my attention. My first instinct was to keep driving. Everything about it felt wrong, but I've never been good at ignoring people who might need help. So I slowed down. I stopped about 20 feet away and cracked my window open just a few inches, enough to hear them. Not enough for anyone to reach inside. It was a middle-aged couple, a man and a woman. That made me feel a little safer. The woman started talking immediately. She was nervous, breathing fast, but her words felt rehearsed, like she'd said them before. She said, "Please don't go any further. The bridge up ahead collapsed earlier tonight." My heart skipped. She pointed down the dark road. "If you keep driving, you'll end up in the river." I asked what I was supposed to do instead. The man spoke this time. He said there was a turnoff about half a mile back, a narrow road through the woods. It would take longer, but it would reconnect to the highway. I thanked them, rolled my window back up, and started driving. But something felt wrong. I couldn't explain it. My stomach was tight. My hands were sweating. Every instinct in my body was telling me not to trust them. A few minutes later, I saw the turnoff. A thin dirt road disappearing into thick trees. Barely wide enough for one car. No lights, no signs, nothing. I slowed down. My turn signal clicked on. Then I hesitated and kept driving straight. I decided to trust my gut. About 3 minutes later, I reached the bridge. I slowed almost to a crawl. My heart was pounding, but the bridge was fine. No damage, no cracks, no collapse. I crossed it without any problem. A few minutes later, I was back on the main highway. Safe. Even though nothing happened, I couldn't shake the feeling. All night, I kept thinking, what if I had turned? What if I'd gone into those woods? A few days later, curiosity got the better of me. In the middle of the afternoon, I drove back. Broad daylight. No fear. No darkness. I followed the same route. The couple was gone. When I reached the dirt road, I slowed down and noticed something new. A wooden sign nailed to a tree. It read, "Dead End." It hadn't been there before. I was sure of it. I would have seen it that night. I parked on the side of the road and stared at the path. In daylight, it didn't look that scary. Just trees and dirt. Still, I felt uneasy. I turned off my engine, got out of my car, and walked toward the entrance. As soon as I stepped onto the path, I felt it. That heavy, sick feeling in my chest, like I wasn't supposed to be there. I stopped, stood still, listening. Then I turned back toward my car. That's when I heard it. A scream. A woman's scream. Loud. Terrified. Coming from deep inside the woods. My blood went cold. I didn't think. I ran. I jumped into my car and sped away. I didn't look back. I didn't slow down. I didn't stop until I was miles away. That was 2 weeks ago. I haven't gone back since. But I think about it every day. What was down that road? Who were those people? And whose scream did I hear? and somehow, I knew this wasn't the last strange thing that would happen to me. A few years before all of this happened, I had worked as an overnight security guard. It was at a large warehouse complex on the edge of a small city. At the time, I was 26 and needed stead money. The shift ran from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. Every night, I was completely alone. There was a supervisor I could call if something went wrong, but most of the time, it was just me, the cameras, and the empty building. The warehouse stored industrial equipment and bulk supplies, nothing especially valuable, which made what happened even harder to explain. The night everything went wrong started normally. It was winter. Light snow was falling, not enough to cause problems, just enough to make everything quiet. I clocked in, did my first perimeter check. All doors were locked, all gates were secure. Then I went back to the security office. Around 1:30 a.m., I got my first motion alert. Loading dock camera 4, that wasn't unusual. Wind, animals, even drifting snow could trigger it. I pulled up the live feed. The dock looked empty. Snow drifted past the floodlights. Nothing else. 10 minutes later, another alert. Same camera. I checked again. Still nothing. Then it happened again. And again. Every 10 to 15 minutes. Always camera 4. No other cameras. What bothered me was this. Every time, the movement seemed to happen at the very edge of the frame. Like something was there, but was trying not to be seen. By 2:30 a.m., I'd gotten 7 alerts, all from the same camera. So I grabbed my flashlight and went outside. The snow had mostly stopped. The entire complex was silent. Too silent. I walked along the loading dock, checked every door, every corner. Everything was locked. There were no footprints, no signs of anyone, only mine. I went back inside, confused. About 20 minutes later, I heard it. A loud scraping sound, metal dragging across concrete, coming from deep inside the warehouse. I froze. Then I rushed to the monitors. I checked every interior camera. Aisle 1. Aisle 2. Aisle 3. All empty. Nothing. I told myself it was probably the wind, or something shifting. But my hands were shaking. Around 4 a.m. it happened again. Louder. Longer. Scrape. Then a sudden bang, like something hitting a door. I jumped. My heart was racing. I checked the cameras again. 1 through 5 looked normal. Then I clicked camera 6. The screen went black. Static. For 3 seconds. Then it came back. But something was wrong. The angle had shifted. Just slightly? Like someone had touched it. Moved it. That was when I knew. Someone was inside. I grabbed my flashlight and radio and stepped into the warehouse. The building was massive. 80,000 square feet. Long aisles of metal shelves. During the day, it was loud and bright. At night, it was dim. Yellow lights. Deep shadows. I walked slowly down the main aisle. Every step echoed. Halfway through, I heard footsteps. To my left. 2 aisles over. Someone was walking. Slow. Careful. I stopped. The footsteps stopped. Silence. I held my breath. My heart felt like it was going to explode. After what felt like forever, I spoke. In my firmest voice, I said, "This is security. Identify yourself." No answer. I repeated it. Louder. Still nothing. I continued my patrol. Every corner felt dangerous. Every shadow looked alive. I never saw anyone, but I knew. I wasn't alone. I finished the patrol, returned to the office, and didn't leave my chair again. Nothing else happened that night. No more sounds, no more alerts. But that didn't make me feel better. It made it worse. Because whoever had been there had chosen to disappear. At 7 a.m., my supervisor arrived. I told him everything. He listened, nodded. But I could tell he didn't believe me. Maintenance checked the building. No broken doors. No forced entry. Nothing missing. No explanation. Officially, nothing had happened. But I knew the truth. Someone had been watching me, moving just out of sight, playing with the cameras, letting me know they were there. That night still haunts me, and I don't think I'll ever forget it. Before everything else happened, I once worked at a 24-hour gym. It was during a gap year between high school and college. I needed money. They needed someone willing to work nights. So it worked out. The gym was open all day, every day. Members used key cards to enter. Most nights, it was quiet. Sometimes I was the only employee there. My job was simple. Sit in the office, watch the cameras, clean when needed, help members if they asked. The gym was in a rough part of town, but most people were regulars. Everyone knew everyone. That made strangers easy to notice. One night, I was working an 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. shift. By 2 a.m., I was exhausted. I had finished my paperwork, done several walkthroughs. So I sat down and watched the monitors. At first, everything was normal. A couple people on machines, someone lifting weights. Then I saw him on a treadmill in the far corner. I didn't recognize him. That wasn't unusual. New members showed up sometimes. What caught my attention was his speed. I checked the system. 9 miles per hour. That's fast, especially for a long time. 10 minutes passed. He didn't slow down. 15 minutes. Still running. No brakes. No water. No pause. I zoomed in on the camera. He looked wrong. His clothes were torn, dirty. His hair was long and messy. And his face, empty. No emotion. No blinking. Just staring straight ahead. Then I noticed something worse. He was barefoot, running full speed, on a moving belt, bare skin on rubber. At that point, I was uncomfortable, and he was now the only person in the gym besides me. We had a rule: shoes were required, so I decided to use that as an excuse to talk to him. I took a deep breath and walked out of the office. As soon as I turned the corner, I saw the blood. The treadmill was covered in it. Red streaks, splattered drops, a growing pool behind the machine. His feet were torn apart, skin hanging, blood pouring. Every step made it worse. But he didn't react, didn't flinch, didn't slow down. His mouth was open, wide, like he was screaming silently. But no sound came out. I froze. My brain couldn't process it. Then I yelled, "Hey, you need to stop!" He didn't respond. I yelled again, louder. "Sir, stop running!" He finally spoke, without turning his head. In a dry, raspy voice, he said, "Are you there?" No emotion, no fear, just empty. I told him again to stop. He repeated, "Are you there?" Over and over, the blood kept spreading. At that point, I was terrified. I backed away, went straight to the office, and grabbed my phone. I was about to call the police. Then I looked at the monitors. He was staring directly into the camera, still running, still bleeding, still smiling. I turned away. My stomach twisted. Then I heard it. A scream. Not words, just raw sound, coming from outside the office. I looked back at the screens. He had jumped off the treadmill. It was still running, still dripping blood. He ran out of view. I clicked through every camera. Lobby, weight room, locker room, nothing. Then I checked the employee hallway. There he was, 6 feet from my door, standing still, head tilted, smiling. I didn't think. I locked the door. 5 seconds later, the handle rattled. He started shaking it, pulling, slamming. I called 911. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone. He screamed again, deep, animal-like. It didn't sound human. It went on, for minutes. I was crying, convinced I was going to die. Then, silence. The door stopped moving. The screaming stopped. I checked the cameras. He was gone, vanished. When the police arrived, they searched everything, every room, every exit. Nothing. No sign of him. No blood trail. No footprints. Like he had never existed. I gave my statement, went home, and quit the next day. I never went back. To this day, I still think about him, about his empty eyes, about his voice, about his smile, and I wonder, if I hadn't locked that door, would I still be alive? Thanks for watching this full story. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe my YouTube channel for more horror stories. Thank you.